Now, I have a question about, as a matter of fact, later today, Kim Iverson's show, because, I work as a producer on that show. She did a long form interview with Chairman Omali, and that's coming later today with a Uhuru group. That's a long form hour interview. He has been indicted and is facing prison. He's 80 years old. He's been a Black socialist activist for 50 years. He has great community programs in Missouri that are lifting up an impoverished community there, like midwifery, farmers market, and all of that. And they've just recently been indicted, and I know you might have heard about it. Tucker Carlson covered it as well, thank goodness, and Katie Halper did, to her credit. And these are 4 Americans that have no association with Russia and are being accused of being under the FARA Act and are facing prison. What is your thoughts on that? And oh, by the way, part of the indictment says they were sowing discord. That's the reasoning. Now, what does that sound like to you?
That sounds like a setup to me. There are so many things wrong with this case. First of all, nobody ever heard of this group until the Biden administration indicted them. They were harming no one. They were not violating the law, or if they were, there was no criminal intent, which nobody seems to care about anymore, whether or not somebody has criminal intent. And this goes, you used the word weaponization a moment ago. That's exactly what this is. It's the weaponization of an obscure law, something that many of us would call a throwaway felony or a process crime.
Administrative, yeah.
It's administrative. It's literally failure to fill out a form. Literally failure to fill out a form. You go to the FARA website, www.fara.whatever.gov, and you fill out the form. And if you forget, oh my God, it's a felony. Well, first of all, where's the criminal intent? Secondly, no one has proven that they were put up to this by any foreign government. The allegation is that it was somehow the Russians. The Russians, I highly doubt the Russians would spend their time and their money trying to prop up a group that has but a couple of dozen members who are elderly and are seeking to do nothing but support their own communities. And another thing too, again, coming back to this word weaponization, if you look at the federal sentencing guidelines for a FARA violation, the sentencing guideline is 0 to 6 months, okay? 0 to 6 months. Not even in prison, but in jail, because the sentence is too short to qualify for prison, right? So number one, why waste the taxpayers' time and money prosecuting a crime like that when you admittedly have no criminal intent? And number two, the FARA cases that the Trump and Biden administration have prosecuted so far, there have only been a couple, but they have gotten, in terms of sentences, far beyond what the federal sentencing guidelines have called for. For example, Maria Butina, who was convicted of a FARA violation. She was a graduate student, a Russian national graduate student here in the United States. She was on my show, yeah. Yeah, I've spoken to her a number of times, and she and I are Facebook friends even.
Right.
She was a member of the Russian version of the NRA. And she wanted to broker better relations between the NRA and this Russian gun organization. They called that at the Justice Department a FARA violation. Now, instead of getting 0 to 6 months, she was given 18 months in solitary confinement.
Right.
Now, anything over 2 weeks in solitary, the United Nations has deemed to be a form of torture.
Exactly.
And then as soon as she was released, she was expelled. Well, to me, that's clearly a political sentence on an administrative crime. But that's the rabbit hole that we're going down. And it's only getting worse and worse and worse. And we're seeing it in this Florida case now.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that case is, you know how they came across the Biden administration is they, well, actually part of the charges and the reason why they're saying 5 to 10 too is because of the, they're claiming election interference because they
Yes.
had run for, yeah, whatever. But they had interrupted, they had done an intervention, right, at an event that Obama was speaking at back when Obama was running. And it was in a key Black voting district, and they disrupted and were criticizing. All they were doing was criticizing Obama and that he wasn't really representing African American interests, and that was the criticism.
Mhm.
And you know, according to their group, pretty much Biden's administration has been targeting him ever since. So
I'll tell you, if I were a member of this group, I would demand to go to trial. No settlement talks, no plea bargaining, trial by a jury of my peers.
Yeah,